Dear students, welcome to the 19th session of Histology, Animal Behavior and Applied Zoology paper prescribed by the Mangalore University for 4th semester BSc Zoology. In this session, we shall consider methods of studying bird migration, which is a subtopic under the Unit 2.3 Animal Migration. Since the beginning of the study of animal migration, many new procedures have been used in the study of bird migration. One of these, radar, has been an invaluable adaptation of a technique developed for a quite different but related purpose. So there are many techniques involved in studying the mode, patterns and orientation and navigations of bird migration. Some of these methods are field studies, some of them are the studies using caged birds, some of them may be the employment of many unique and ultra modern technologies such as radar and other systems. And radar is recently used to study the patterns of bird migration. But we all know that radar has been developed for completely a different purpose. So one of the first and very good old method of studying bird migration is the direct observation. It is the oldest and the simplest and most frequently used method of studying migration. The size, color, song and flight of different species of birds aid the amateur as well as the professional bird migration researchers in determining when birds are migrating, what time they are migrating. Some of the largest and most interesting routes and patterns were sorted out by tediously compiling and comparing literally thousands of observations on whether a species was or was not seen in a given locality at a particular time of the year. In the aggregate, direct observation has contributed much to our knowledge of migration, but as will be pointed out in other sections, until a few years ago, observers were not aware of some of the biases in these techniques. There are some flaws, there are some problems with these techniques, but still this is the most widely used technique all over the world. And simple observations made in a particular geographic area in different parts of the world all are compiled at once and in order to decipher a route of migration of a bird or the pattern of migration of a bird. And this direct observation just involves the observation of whether a species of bird was present or not present in given locality at a given time in the year. One addition to the direct observation is the moon watch. This moon watch is a modification of the direct observation method. It has long been known that many species of birds migrate at night. Many small passerine birds have the habit of migrating at night just to avoid predators and other bigger birds. Until recently, it was not apparent just how important nocturnal migration really is. The direct observation was mainly focusing on diurnal birds, and within the last 40 or 50 years, people have come to know that the nocturnal migration of birds is more important than diurnal migration, because many birds which have the habit of migrating generally prefer nights. Significant information has been derived from watching through telescopes the passage of migrating birds across the face of a full moon. Since the actual percent of sky observed by looking through a telescope at the moon is extremely small, approximately 100,000th of an observable sky, the volume of birds recorded is small. On a night of heavy migration, about 30 birds per hour can be seen. So the results are very poor. You cannot observe a lot more birds with the small, area of the telescope. But anyhow, it's a most dependable kind of observation because you can record many birds which prefer to migrate during night. The next method is aural. Aural is an adjunct to previously described nocturnal observation method, which has the potential for species identification. Is the use of a parabolic reflector with attached microphone to amplify the chip or call notes. See, aural is simply a parabolic, reflector, just like a TV dish attached with a microphone. So now, if it is placed in a particular position or pathway of the migrating birds, this can, record the calls of the birds that pass by. So you need not be there because the equipments will record the calls. So later on, with the help of these recordings, you can identify the birds. This device, when equipped with a tape recorder, can record night migrants up to 11,000 feet on nights with or without full moon. So for moon watching, you need full moon days, right? Because as and when the black moon day is approaching, the sky becomes too dark, so you cannot spot the birds which are flying out there. But this aural is a device with the help of which you can even record the calls of migrant birds which are flying even up to 11,000 feet above, can be recorded even in the days of black moon. A primary disadvantage of this method is that one cannot tell the direction a bird is traveling, and there is considerable difficulty in identifying the chip notes made by night migrants. So since the tape recorder has no videograph or something like that, so you cannot easily differentiate different calls, and there will be a lot of difficulties in identifying the call notes or chip of the birds, because many of the migratory birds are non-native birds, so it is very difficult to identify the bird using chip notes. As well as you cannot tell the direction in which the birds are moving. Just call notes are recorded, so you cannot actually say in which direction the birds are moving. In addition, the bird may not call when it is directly over the reflector, and consequently it would not be recorded. So this is another drawback of this aural system, wherein the birds may chirp, the birds may produce sound, they call before they reach the aural. So when they're flying exactly above the aural or the area of record, they may not produce the calls or sound. So that is a major handicap. So such birds which are flying quietly cannot be recorded using this technique. These calls are quite different from the notes we hear given by familiar birds during the daytime while they are scolding, intruder, or advertising their territory. So another drawback of this aural is the birds, when they are flying simply, they may produce a completely different sound which cannot be heard during daytime, while the birds are producing different types of sound uh, for different kinds of communication. So the sound produced by the same bird may be different at nights when they are simply flying, and in the morning when they are, you know, communicating with the nest mates or their colony mates or their friends or foes, whatever it may be. Well, the good old method of studying bird migration is preserving the specimens for reference. So the reference material consisting of preserved bird skins with data on time and place of collection exists in many natural history museums. The essential ingredient in studying migration by this method is to have an adequate series of specimens taken during the breeding season, so differences in appearance between geographically separated breeding populations of the same species can be determined. Such properly identified breeding specimens may be used for comparison with individuals collected during migration to associate them with their breeding areas. This supplies a convenient way of recognizing and referring to individuals representative of known populations whenever they may be encountered. So these are photographs of some birds which have been preserved in different natural history museums of different parts of the world. Okay, so the migratory birds can be killed and collected, or dead bodies of them may be collected if they are having a large migratory flocks, and then may be stored in stuffed condition or in alcohols, formalin, whatever the uh, following, you know, classical protocols. So here we can make two differentiation. If the birds are partial migrants, that means a part of population of a bird is migrating and the entire population is not migrating. So in this condition, you may compare the difference with morphological difference between the migrating populations as well as the non-migratory birds. But one of the major drawback of this method is you have to kill the bird and you know you have to store it. So that may not be a good uh, technology of studying birds migration as far as the conservation of birds are concerned. So marking, this is again a classical technique used to study the bird migration. If the birds can be captured, marked and released unharmed, a great deal of information can be learned about their movements. You can see here a plover is being marked with a tag name with some A59 or whatever. So this could be a very good tool in identifying as well as in studying bird migration. Many different methods of marking are there have been developed to identify particular individuals when they are observed or recaptured at later date. So this technique is also called marking, capture and recapture. So you capture a bird, you mark it, and then you recapture it somewhere. So that this gives lot of information and idea about the process of migration. See how to mark the birds that are migrating. You can use bands, you can use collars, you can use streamers. See, since 1920s, the marking of birds with numbered leg bands has been in practice. So you can see here this bird is having a leg band with numbers, and here you can also see a aluminium ring which is encircling its leg. So every year professional biologists and voluntary cooperators working under permit place bands in thousands of such birds, game and non-game birds, large and small birds, migratory and non-migratory birds, with each band carrying a serial number and a legend or on the smaller sizes and abbreviations. When a banded bird is reported from a second locality, a definite fact relative to its movement becomes known, and the study of many such cases develops more and more complete knowledge of details of migration. So when the technology is improving, so the study of bird migration is also improving. So now we use something called radio tracking as one of the very potent method to study the bird migration. So this radio tracking is one of the most promising methods of tracking the movements of individual birds in migration has been developed in recent years. It is called radio tracking or radio telemetry and consists of attaching to a migratory bird a small radio transmitter, as you can see here in this photograph. A small radio transmitter is attached to the back of the bird, with the radio receiving a set of mounted on a truck or aeroplane. It is possible to follow these radio signals and trace the progress of the migrating birds. One of the most dramatic examples of this is the study of Arctic tern using, the radio telemetry. So here you can see a device tethered to the body of the bird, and this is the radio, transmitter, which emits some waves which can be, you know, tracked using this device, which is called radio tracker, that will, collect the signals. So these are the few techniques which are employed by various researchers to study about the migration of birds. For further information about migration of birds, you can refer these textbooks that are available in the libraries of our government colleges. Thank you.